So some people might find this super duper wild, but it actually took me 30 years to do this, and that would be going camping. Hello everybody, for those of you who are new here, my name is Ria, and I typically publish videos every Friday around 10 a.m. Sometimes I sneak on a little bit earlier, but so it goes. Today I'm going to be talking about one of the things that I've basically fallen in love with, and that would be camping. So a little bit of a backstory. I am actually the child of an immigrant mother. My father is, or was, French-Irish Canadian. I know that my parents had very differing views on the idea of camping or being in an RV. It was my dad's goal to actually put me in modeling competitions and baby contests to try and win a bunch of money to purchase an RV. And my mother, who had come from the Philippines, where there's a lot of jungle and she'd grown up in a village, a lot of mountainous area and whatnot, lots of vegetation, had a whole other view and outlook on camping. She thought, well, I didn't come from the Philippines to come to Canada and stay out in the forest and in the wild. So fast forward to 2020, and obviously that's the year the COVID-19 pandemic shows up on everyone's doorstep. I'd gone day camping, but that's completely different. So for those of you who are unaware, day camping is where you would set up a tent and you would go to a park. We would all play as kids and hang out and have fun. And sometimes if there was a barbecue there, propane barbecue there, we would roast hot dogs or whatever. But at this point, I had never even had a s'more. So 2020 comes along and I'm looking for different ways to be out and about and just enjoy a bit more of nature, because I have been spending too much time on the computer. I'm very tech savvy in certain departments, but I hadn't really been outside. I go camping with some of my girlfriends and it is an amazing experience. We actually went on a second camping trip after that. Finally, I was able to go camping with John, and I actually had to really convince him. I don't know what his deal was. I suspect part of it was he grew up complete opposite of me. He has 3 other siblings and they went camping essentially all the time. John and I actually went camping for the first time last September, so September 2023, and we went up to this place called Otter Lake, which we absolutely love for a multitude of reasons. It is a BC Park site. There are a couple of different places you can go camping in British Columbia, but the main places are public or government-run camping sites and then the private camping sites. The first place I'd gone camping overnight with my girlfriends was actually a privately run space, and I believe that's in Mission, which Mission is in BC. The place that we went to, John and I, it's a place called Tulameen, and that's where Otter Lake is. Otter Lake is a publicly funded BC Parks campsite. It's run by people who are contracted by the government to ensure that people have a fantastic time. The last time we went there, there was only one man running the campsite that you would check in with. We got there relatively earlier the last time. This time, because John was working, we had to delay our trip a little bit, but the whole drive is about 3.5 hours in good traffic. And fortunately, we did have good traffic because we left on a Thursday afternoon when it was relatively quieter on the roads, and we made it there probably around 5 o'clock. One of the things I always struggle with is the temperature change. So when we got to the campsite, John realized that there was so much sun shining on the space, which made for some troublesome thoughts and feels from his perspective. So John typically doesn't like too much heat. I, on the other hand, I'm cold if it's 15 degrees or lower, having that Philippine blood in me. So I was excited to see that the camp was pretty much in full sunlight around 6 p.m. when we arrived. We set up a tent in 40 minutes. It was super duper easy this time around, at least, because we practiced from last time. Our tent's pretty big. We have a tent that can potentially fit, I think, comfortably 4 people, but we've seen the paperwork and it says 6. I think comfortably 4 people is good. There would be a lot of body heat circulating with 6 people. So anyways, we set up our tent and we had dinner. I think we just had hot dogs. It was like a really basic dinner, and I think the following night was the same. Couple of things when you book with a BC Parks site versus a private site. So every year, usually around March, there's this crazy wait for the launch of the BC Parks camping websites. Almost like Taylor Swift tickets, like trying to buy Taylor Swift tickets. A lot of these BC Park sites are amazing. I haven't been, now bear in mind, I've only been to one private site, and that private site only had pit toilets, but some of the differences with amenities are kind of, there's a bit of a discrepancy. So if you're going to a BC Parks campsite, you may be able to find places that have Wi-Fi or toilets that aren't pit toilets. For those of you who are wondering what I mean when I say pit toilets, I'm talking about the toilets that are basically like literally pit toilets. Like you just flip up the lid, you go and you use hand sanitizer and you're done. But there are some places that have toilets that are flushable, or they even have showers, plugins for electricity. You know, there's different options there. So it really depends on what you're looking for and what level of, I don't know, wilderness you're aiming to engage in/with. I do find that the amount of availability with respects to amenities is greater if you go the BC Camps or BC Parks camping site route versus a private camping site. Private camping sites can also be a little bit pricey, but I'm also finding in the last couple of years that they're starting to sort of match up. So our campsite for the 2 nights that we were there, I believe it was $60, which is okay. It was not too bad. It gave us the campsite itself. You also get a little fire pit, so it's great if you're not going when there was a fire ban in place. And when we went, there wasn't a fire ban in place, so we were really happy about that. We also had a space to park our vehicle, so there was enough room to just like leave our vehicle there and pitch our tent. And it also came with a small picnic table. One of the drawbacks, at least with the Otter Lake site, is that they don't have pictures of every single site. So if you want to know whether you're going to be in the shade all day, if you're going to be in the sun all day, how close your site is to, let's say, the beach, that can be a little bit tricky. And so I made it a priority the first day that we were there to go for a walk. So, you know, I'd go for a walk with my water or my coffee and take a look at what the campsites are sort of like. There's obviously a certain area where it's a bit more shady and a bit more comfortable for somebody like John. And then there was our side where it was obviously quite bright and sunny and warm. And for somebody like me who loves to sunbathe safely, it's a perfect match. You may run into that in some situations where a particular park doesn't have photos. So just be aware of that. It's going to probably be a trial and error thing. One thing I wish I could have asked about was whether we could switch campsites, and I didn't get to do that. Our hosts this time around were also very chill. They were lovely. They were wonderful. I think it really depends on the host, and I think it depends on the availability, but it doesn't hurt to ask. I think ultimately camping looks different for so many people. There will probably be people who watch this and go, really? That's your idea of camping? I would argue that the great outdoors is for everybody. I think for me, the big reason why I enjoy going camping is because nobody bugs me. I am away. I love it. It's fantastic. And you're just kind of forced to sit there with people that, you know, you love and appreciate. And I love going camping with my girlfriends. I love going camping with John. I'm sure this is something that we'll do with other members of our family down the line. At least I'd like to think so. It's just so nice to sit there, to be able to barrel through a book, to just have conversations, to go walking around and seeing what nature sort of looks like. If you haven't had a chance to go camping in British Columbia, I cannot recommend it enough. I do have a few other bucket list places that I want to go camping. So there are some spots in Alberta, and I would like to go south of the border, spaces in like Arizona, spaces in Nevada. It is on my bucket list to do like a cross-country drive through the United States if possible. I would love to go camping in some of those spaces. Also Oregon and Washington State are a couple of other places I'd like to go camping. So many options for camping, and I want to do it with a tent. I'm not interested in an RV at this point. I just feel like it's too much for us. And we're renters, so we don't really have a place to park our RV. But in the interim, I cannot recommend Otter Lake enough. If you haven't had the chance to go, it's peaceful, it's quiet. We had a really good time. So if you haven't been to Otter Lake, cannot recommend it enough. A big thank you to everybody who was there and made our trip amazing. And a big thank you to John for finally saying yes to going camping with me, because it only took a decade. I would say it only took a decade. I think we had talked about, before we started dating, we talked about it with a couple of other friends, going out camping while we were in school, in journalism school, but it never happened. I will have another video up next week. It's probably going to be gaming related, so stay tuned. It may also be a vlog. I have to check my schedule. It's either a vlog or a gaming video. I can't remember which one. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this, be sure to subscribe down below. You can also click the little notification bell so that you don't miss a video when I publish it. Again, I usually publish on Fridays at 10 a.m., but just for the sake of brevity, recently I've been publishing earlier than that, so I would argue that the videos go up by 10 a.m. on Fridays, so there's the odd moment here and there where the video might go up at like Thursdays at 10 p.m., but it's guaranteed Friday at 10 a.m. you will find a new video here every week. If I don't publish, I do my best to just say, hey, I'm not available this week, or like I got tied up in something, because that has been happening the last couple of weeks. At Ria Renouf if you're interested in following me on Instagram. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!